That's part of the property that development company, that Persinger's running.
Who is this development company? What are they trying to do?
Trying to clean up they bought that property. I don't know.
The banks.
All the banks, it's all private money.
Hagen's a push behind it.
Yeah, I
They
can
go
figure.
into a living part of downtown, more
Living?
so than the bar, yes.
Oh.
Apartments and all.
Oh.
He's gonna be having about 600 workers come in.
Apartments?
Oh, yeah.
Should be an entertainment district.
They're kind of doing, I guess they went, was it Indianapolis is the
Model?
Cincinnati or Cincinnati's the
Either
model.
Kentucky, somewhere down there.
Well, this is eerie. I mean, you know.
Well, they got about 30 or 40 million from, 10 here, 2 there, and
Yeah.
from all the banks and.
That's why they bought McDonald's for
Yeah.
3.2 or 2 something.
Are you serious?
They're right there.
That much money?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
My daughter
With the
went there.
understanding that there'd be no restaurant going in there as part of the green trend.
Plus they couldn't announce it until they closed, who it was.
Yeah.
Then they knocked it down like a week later or whatever. My daughter lives, goes to Gannon, and freshman year, she lived in a dorm, almost kitty corner. She called it Craig Donald's. She said, you didn't go in there.
Yeah.
You didn't go in, you always went through the drive-through, you never went inside there.
Yeah.
You might not come out.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is as late as it gets. They don't turn on. Our meeting is now in session. I welcome everyone to the first meeting of our new school board. And I ask Mrs. Jones to read the meeting notice.
The Board of Directors of the School District of the City of Erie, PA will meet in regular session on Wednesday, December 11, 2019 in the auditorium at East Middle School, 1001 Atkins Street at 6 p.m. by request of the President, John C. Harkins.
Thank you. Roll call.
Mrs. Feeney? Here. Mrs. McNair? Here. Mr. Nichols?
Here.
Ms. Pickens?
Here.
Ms. Sheridan? Here. Mr. Spagel?
Here.
Mr. Titus?
Here.
Ms. Cooley? Here. Mr. Harkins?
Here. For obvious reasons, I'd call upon everyone in the auditorium to silence their phones at this point so that we can fully appreciate the interaction of conducting the business before us tonight. Thank you. The Pledge of Allegiance, led by Soniel Bird Otero, fourth grade student from Medicine Elementary School, will be introduced by Mrs. Diane Sutton, the principal, followed by a moment of silence for Hilda Leon, a former cafeteria worker who passed away on October 21st, 2019. Joan Williams, former librarian who passed away on October 26th, 2019. Teresa Kavanaugh O'Reilly, a former teacher who passed away on October 30th, 2019. Barbara Brown, a retired food service worker who passed away on November 5th, 2019. Edward Bianchi, a former custodian who passed away on November 16th, 2019. And Martha Markowitz, former secretary who passed away on November 16th, 2019. Mrs. Sutton?
Right on up. Good evening, Mr. Pluto, Mrs. Habersky, and School Board. It is my pleasure to be here to introduce to you Soniel. You'll notice a little change. I'll speak a little bit about Soniel, and then I'll ask him to speak a little bit about himself so that I'm not the only one doing the talking. Soniel attends Edison. He's a fourth grade student in Julie Fromnick's room. He's accompanied tonight by his mom, Awilda, and his sister, Andrea. Soniel, according to Soniel, what he likes most about school is that he likes to learn, to test out new ideas, and to figure out how to do teamwork better. His favorite subject is science, specifically geology, and Soniel participates in our Erie Public School Gifted program. Soniel's hobbies include learning about new things and thinking about what he can do with his life. On that path, Soniel thinks perhaps he'll be a stop-motion artist when he is grown, or a paleontologist, and I would ask him to share with you why he wants to be a paleontologist.
I would like to be a paleontologist because I think it would be the most fitting job for me. I know much about prehistoric creatures, why the fossils are made, and how fragile the fossils would be, and how to handle them.
Thanks, Soniel, for sharing. At this time, if you would please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, we would appreciate it.
All rise.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Soniel, if you'd come around this way, everybody would like to shake your hand.
Keep studying hard.
Thank you, Soniel. Cody Nikolai is our student rep joining us this evening for the December and the next month's January meeting, Cody. He's sitting to the right of Lori Pickens, so Cody Nicolai is our new student rep. He's a senior at Erie High School who was in the welding program. He is the secretary of the senior class and the treasurer of the student council. He is also an active member of the National Honor Society and Skills USA. Cody is a member of the varsity golf, swim, and track team at Erie High. He also works a co-op job at the Warren Company where he is a welder and machinist. Cody is planning to go to Penn State Barron and study mechanical engineering. His parents are Kim Nicolai, a math teacher in the Erie School District, and Patrick Nicolai, a software engineer at Lord Corporation and Master First Sergeant in the United States Army. His father is currently serving in Kuwait. Cody attended Blessed Sacrament School. He has one brother, Logan, who is in the 10th grade. Cody, welcome. Do you have any remarks you'd like to make? You don't have to, but you're welcome to.
No, thank you.
Thank you, Cody. Next, we want to recognize Brian and Linda Graff as community supporters of Erie's Public Schools. In recognition of their dedication to the students and the community of Erie Public Schools. Through the generosity of the Graffs, the Foundation for Erie Public Schools is able to offer elementary, middle, and high school teachers the opportunity to receive a mini grant of up to $1,000 to support continuing education and professional development. Graff Hain Teacher Education Mini Grants may be used for any training or education that meets continuing education requirements for teaching certification, including college courses, and help to ensure our teachers have access to lifelong learning opportunities. On behalf of our students and families, the board would like to extend our thanks to Brian and Linda and would like to invite them both to the stage at this time to accept this recognition for that. Brian, Linda. Thanks again. Thank you.
Thank you for your support.
Nice to meet you again. Okay. Thank you. You're welcome. All right, you're welcome.
Thank you very much for your support.
I announced that the board met an executive session a short time ago on this Wednesday, December 11th, 2019, in the library at East Middle School from 5:35 p.m. to 5:40 p.m. regarding security and safety matters. The next item on the agenda is a presentation by Mr. Ed Kissel on the Boletnikoff's Field sign proposal. Is Mr. Kissel here?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Board President, Mr. Harkins, board members, administration, and interested public. My name is Ed Kissel, and with me tonight is Jim Ziebach, the designer of the new Fred Boletnikoff athletic field sign, who will give you an explanation of the details of the sign in a few minutes. Other committee members are Doug White, George Gott, and Rich Valahovic. On September 11th, 2019, at the regular school board meeting, a resolution of the school board and administration endorsed our efforts with the understanding we would come back to the board and present the new sign design and ask for approval. We have updated the information on Fred Biletnikoff and incorporated the new colors and logo of the student body and administration selected for the new Erie High School. At the September 11th meeting, we stated there would be no taxpayers' money requested from the school district. All monies will come from our fundraising effort. Thank you for allowing us to present our proposal, and we ask for your approval to showcase the Fred Biletnikoff Athletic Field. And we would also like to acknowledge Principal Dawn Orlando and Erica Irwin for their assistance. At this time, I would like to have Jim come forward and explain the details of our sign, and we thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kissel.
Hello, and thank you for having me. I have a series of slides which I'll go through, but first I wanted to start off with the objectives so you understand what we were trying to accomplish with the actual sign itself. All right, and that's the first page you'll see on the presentation here. It says the proposed designs, the committee believes, accomplishes specific objectives listed in order of importance. Number one, field identification, the name, of course. Establish immediate and easily recognizable context for Fred Biletnikoff's identity. Declare boldly that this is a proud home of the Erie Royals. Include prominently school logo and colors. Communicate, remind, and build confidence in every student who practices and performs on that field that greatness runs in their educational bloodlines. Communicate the reason why the field is named after Fred Biletnikoff, listing his unbelievable and numerous accomplishments. Through a strong and bold design, we communicate how proud we are of having him be from Erie in this high school, of which I am a 1981 graduate of Vitus Kaiser's commercial art, who is, to this day, my favorite teacher ever. And finally, correct the current state of the existing sign with a professional design, one that makes Fred and Angela Biletnikoff truly feel honored. A design we would be proud to show him and proclaim to anyone passing by that we are celebrating that one of, if not the greatest sports figures to ever come from our beloved hometown comes from this school. Okay, this currently is the current condition of the sign itself. So there's a front and back side. As you can see, it's pretty run down. So Doug had arranged for someone to come out and look at the condition of the brick structure, and that seems to be solid. So the only thing that really needs to be addressed is the actual sign itself. Here's the proposed design. Now, what you're seeing here is a layout of all the components that will be made of on the front side of the sign. Here's the detail of the front main panel. That will list all his accomplishments on there. And if you get a chance to read it, it's incredibly impressive what he's accomplished. So it's pretty tremendous. You can see the components where we have the name and the logo and the colors all represented, of which I made sure I wear purple in my tie. So, all right. Here is one of the side components. It shows Fred getting his NFL Hall of Fame trophy, along with one of his famous images. Tech has in their safe, apparently, this football. It was presented to them, and we would like to have that presented as well. It's a special thing that not many people have. On the sides, we will also have the committee and the sponsors who will pay for the actual event. Those are on there as well. Any questions so far?
That football in the safe came from the NFL Hall of Fame committee. They only honored members who were chosen to be Hall of Fame members, and they went back to each of their high schools and made certain benefits for that available to them.
Yeah, it's pretty outstanding. Cool stuff. Here's the backside. Okay? One that will hopefully give much courage to everybody, showing them as those players are out there staring at the sign, they're seeing that number one, and it's pointing at them. That's a Super Bowl picture, by the way. So here's an up-close version of it that you'll see. The sign is 8 foot by 16 foot, so it's rather large. Okay, and these are just JPEGs in case they were not in focus. So there you go. Questions?
Question for Mr. Kissel. We're grateful to both of you for having initiated this and seen it through, but you have sought donations and have a considerable, you have made progress in that, but am I to understand that it's still open, that you're still?
We're just starting now. Yeah,
Okay.
we wanted to get approval first, then we can actually show people and move forward from there.
Okay.
So,
Any questions from the board or administration?
Mr. President,
Tom?
I'm curious, what will the sign be made out of? Those are very nice graphics, and how will that be able to retain its
color.
And yeah, I don't know, I'm not a sign guy, but it is very nice. I mean, how would, say 10, 20 years down the road with our wonderful weather, how do we maintain it?
Yeah, there's plenty of sign companies in the area that actually have a number of ways of doing it. I have an example of one. One of the sign companies made this, to give you an idea of what it might look like. This is like half size. I don't know if you can see this or not, but to give you an idea. But there's all kinds of substrates we can use. One of the ones I'm discussing with them is a stretch film that would go over top of it, which would have no seams. And all the rest of these, like the hard copy, they would actually do 4x8 sheets. My concern is if one's damaged and you have to replace one, which is nice, but what happens if there is any color change and trying to match that color might be difficult. So we're kind of working through all these issues. So the other issue we have is at night it's dark there. So we have to somehow figure out how to handle the lighting. We'll try to work something out there, but knowing that we're trying to push forward with a massive redo of the entire field, maybe at that point we can actually put electricity to the sign, because there's nothing there now.
Your efforts to do this are lauded by us, but what you just said, there's a separate coincidental effort by us to consider doing other upgrades at the field, but your involvement was only with the sign itself.
Yes.
And yet hopefully the two could maybe merge or be associated close enough that people who wanted to help you with the sign would maybe join in helping us if there's an overflow.
Yes. And maybe we could use the launching of the sign itself, the unveiling, as the launch of the big program. Maybe even have Fred Blitnikoff in and other dignitaries and make it a big press event so we can launch that rather large effort, which would be really good. I'd love to see it.
We thank you. Is there anyone else? Darlene, did you have?
I just wanted to thank you for all your efforts, and it's a great job. It looks very impressive, and it's going to be an asset to the community, and I know that our student athletes are going to be very proud to play on that field now.
I'm a
Thank you.
lifelong Raider fan too, so that helps. We're on a booster club for Raider fans.
Be careful, there's some fans of other teams up here.
Oh, I know that. But it's purple and yellow.
Yes, we appreciate that too.
Okay.
But there's a resolution in our new business tonight to approve that design, and so when we get to that point, if there's any more discussion, we can have it. Beyond that, the next item on the agenda is the report of the superintendent. Mr. Polito?
Thank you, Mr. President. I know you're all aware that threats were made on social media involving two of our schools last night and today. As a parent myself, I certainly understand how troubling those threats are, and want to reassure everyone that the safety and security of our students is our #1 priority. I'm happy to report tonight that law enforcement has identified the individual involved in those threats, and we have determined that there was never any credible threat to either of the schools as a result of this. In good news tonight, we also received a report from our auditors, Zelenkowski Axelrod. I don't think I did as good as you, John, but our audit report is a far cry from where it was a couple years ago. We actually had a $12 million surplus and ended the year with a $20 million fund balance and no audit findings. In holiday-related news, mark your calendars to attend Erie High School's second annual Royal Christmas Light Show, debuting this Friday at 6 p.m. and running through Sunday, January 5th. This year's Student Design Light Show features several holiday songs synchronized to 30,000 lights on 300 distinct programming channels. The music to accompany the light show can be heard on 101.7 FM and will be operated every evening from 6 o'clock to 10:30. Finally, a reminder that school will be closed for the holiday break from Monday, December 23rd through Wednesday, January 1st. Students will return to school on Thursday, January 2nd. On behalf of the entire district and the school board, I want to wish everyone a healthy and happy holiday season and look forward to another great year ahead. And now I'd like to call Mr. Nixon up to recognize our stair climbers of this month.
Thank you, Mr. Polito.
Would everyone join us on the stage to greet the recipients as Mr. Nixon introduces them?
So I just want to say thanks to the superintendent, assistant superintendents, the school board for supporting this monthly student recognition award. So this is the Stick-to-It Stair Climber Award, which focuses on improvements in attendance, classroom performance, and behavior. So tonight what you'll have in front of you, you'll have students representing each of our schools that have been nominated by their teachers and their administrators. And a special thanks to our pre-engineering lab, Ms. Mikowski, Mr. Biter, and all the students that have put together these wooden plaques that we'll share with the students tonight. I also want to thank Mrs. Sutton, principal of Edison, for volunteering her time and service in supporting this award. So without further ado, students, as we mentioned previously, just as I say your name, just come on down, I'll shake your hand, see Mrs. Sutton for a plaque, stop and see Mr. Don for a picture, and then you'll sit on stage with our board members for a full picture, and then we'll head out with all of the families and the students for individual photos with the school. I almost went ahead of myself, so again, I just want to thank all of the parents, the families, the guardians, grandparents, aunts, and all of the cousins and sisters and brothers that came out tonight. We had a lot of fun hanging out, just talking a little bit, enjoying cookies and punch, so we really appreciate that. And if I could, before starting, just give a round of applause to all of our families. Let's get the party started. So these are our December 2019 stair climber nominees. From the DePaulo Student Success Center, I would like to nominate Shalisha Bruton for the Stair Climber Award. Shalisha has great attendance and high level of participation in all of her classes. She is extremely respectful to both staff and her peers. She demonstrates leadership qualities and is always ready to help. Her work ethic, attention to detail, and pride in academics is noteworthy. For these reasons, Shalisha Bruton would make an excellent recipient of the Stair Climber Award. So please welcome 9th grader Shalisha Bruton. From Erie High School, 10th grader. Faith has made a lot of changes this school year. She is now very focused on her grades, and it shows. Ladies and gentlemen, Faith Jordan. From Collegiate Academy, 12th grader. Chris Hess is one of those Renaissance students that you occasionally meet in your career. He is very IT savvy and often helps out the school when the TVs, Elmos, projectors, or anything else refuses to work. Chris is a senior at Collegiate Academy. This year, he is an executive technical director of King TV, the technology editor for the yearbook, the lead programmer for the robotics team, and also holds down a part-time job at the zoo. Along with his collegiate classes, Chris has started taking a class at Erie High as well. He is becoming certified on the FANUC arm. Having enjoyed the class at Erie High so much, he then joined the Erie High Battle Bots team. In conjunction with this, Chris is always willing to lend a hand. This past summer, Chris was frequently seen in the building, making sure everyone's TVs would be working for morning announcements. He is the first to volunteer when something needs done and is usually seen helping others step by step to complete their projects, not thinking twice about putting his, own work on the back burner. We have learned that Chris approaches everything he does with the goal of leaving it better than when he found it. So ladies and gentlemen, from Collegiate Academy, Chris Hess. See, Faith, we'll get another student up there for you. Sorry. From East Middle School, 8th grader, Daquan has shown vast improvements in all areas of his education. This year at East Middle School, as of the end of the first quarter, Daquan has only missed one day of school, earned a 3.3 GPA, and has near perfect behavior record. Daquan has earned a spot on the 8th grade basketball team, as well as being elected vice president of the student council. Daquan has chosen to be a true leader at East and makes us all very proud to name him as our representative for the Stair Climber Award. So ladies and gentlemen, 8th grader Daquan Selby. From Strong Vincent Middle School, 6th grader. Strong Vincent's December stair climber was a unanimous decision among his teachers. Several weeks ago, Jonathan broke his dominant arm. Making classwork a challenge, he has completed all of his assignments with his non-dominant hand, including essays. His clever perspectives are always welcome in class discussions. Jonathan's humility impresses on us on a daily basis. So ladies and gentlemen, Jonathan Schaffstall. Eighth grader from Wilson Middle School. Jeremiah Smith has been a quiet yet confident force in his 8th grade class so far this year. His excellent work ethic and attention to detail has propelled him to raise his grade point average an entire point over last school year. He has become one of the top performers in his class, and his fellow students can look to him as an example of excellence. 8th grader Jeremiah Smith. So what I'd like to do is just take a quick moment. I want to make sure our student from the DePaulo Success Center is here. So if we could, I'd like to, we did speak about you, Shalisha. We did talk about all that you've done, your improvements, stepping up and being extremely respectful to all of your staff and students, and that you're showing true leadership qualities, attention to detail, and pride in academics. And for those reasons, you were nominated the Stair Climber Award winner. So ladies and gentlemen, Shalisha Bruton. Thank you. It's great, some of the students. I know that Shalisha was with us at the Mayor's Trust Building session. I know Chris was with us at the Spirit Day last week, which we did a lot of work with the Department of Justice. So it's great to see these students just actively playing a role. From Grover Cleveland, 5th grader, Logan has continued to make strides in his academics and behavior. He has taken on the role of a patrol as well. Logan has had excellent attendance this past quarter. Ladies and gentlemen, Logan Capsar. Fifth grader from Joanna Connell. Anthony is a hardworking student who shows kindness to all of his classmates and teachers. He has demonstrated improved effort and has been extremely hardworking. Without further ado, 5th grader Anthony Williamson. From Deal Elementary, Liana is focused and hardworking in Mrs. Licari's class. Her efforts have led to increased reading comprehension as well as increased in her reading accuracy from 84% to 91%. Way to go, Liana. You make Deal proud. Ladies and gentlemen, 4th grader Liana Birchfield. From Edison Elementary, Darnell goes above the norm to let his friends know that they are missed when they are absent, and he notices them. He also gets very excited about learning in the classroom, particularly the knowledge portion of CKLA. So ladies and gentlemen, I believe our youngest student, kindergartner Darnell Moore. From Harding Elementary, Denivia Younger is our student from Harding for the month. She has made improvement in her attendance and her behavior from last year to this year. She is constantly working to improve in class by raising her hand and listening to her teacher. She has built a positive relationship with her teacher and continues to grow every day. We are proud to call her one of our Harding Dragons. Ladies and gentlemen, second grader Denivia Younger. From Jefferson Elementary, Pierre has no behavior events this year and has perfect attendance. We are so proud of Pierre. He comes to school, does his work, and follows all directions. His teacher enjoys having Pierre in her class. Ladies and gentlemen, first grader Pierre Boyd Jr. I'd like to give Pierre another round of applause because he has overcome a major fear. He mentioned to us in the cafeteria that he wasn't ready to take the step, but he definitely did today. So Pierre, good job, buddy. From Lincoln Elementary, Liam has completely improved in all areas. His attendance, academics, and behavior. He is 100% better. He actually tells us when others are misbehaving. Liam has been amazing and is a pleasure to have at Lincoln. Bravo, Liam. Ladies and gentlemen, third grader Liam DeFoy. Leadership. Fifth grader from McKinley. Jayla works hard and is succeeding academically, making progress in both math and reading beyond last year. She is a wonderful helper to a life skills classroom in the morning. She is always willing to help others any way she can. Jayla has worked hard this year to model the McKinley expectations of being respectful, responsible, safe, and prepared. We are all so proud of all she is accomplishing. Ladies and gentlemen, fifth grader Jayla Williams. Again, I did know that Jayla was not going to be able to make it, but I know we are going to pass the plaque on to Miss Lori Pickens, who will make sure she gets it back at school. Perry Elementary, third grader. Levi Smith has had an outstanding first quarter as a third grader at Perry. Levi has been a hard worker, well-behaved, and has outstanding attendance. He is always trying to be safe, respectful, and responsible. Levi makes Perry proud. Third grader, Levi Smith. From Piper Burley, Mariana earned an award for all A's and B's this quarter. She is a hard worker and has become a leader in the classroom. She is motivated and has begun to be more positive about her learning and participating in lessons. Ladies and gentlemen, fifth grader Mariana Butts. Special thank you to Mr. Polito for helping direct the student traffic up there. Much appreciated, Mr. Polito. This is a special This one is a special plaque. This student is from Harding Elementary. I'm going to go ahead and read through, but this student ended up moving to Florida, but the teachers and the students and the staff at Harding wanted to make sure, we talked about it, so we're going to make sure that she gets this plaque. And so we have a special occasion. We have two teachers that are going to receive this on her behalf. So Deanna Korwicki and Carrie Fasheen. If you guys want to start heading up. Iris has improved her behavior in grades in the last few weeks. She has made major improvements in her behavior and is paying much closer attention in class. Iris is now helping her classmates make better choices as well. She has been respectful, responsible, safe, and focused in the choices she has made lately. She is influencing the students in her class to follow her lead. We are all very proud of you. Iris Lopez, first grader. And again, I just want to point out how thankful I am to have, this is what it's all about, is the positive climate and culture that we have within our buildings, to have teachers want to step up and receive an award for their students. So with that, I'm very thankful.
Thank you. Thanks.
That's previous, sorry. Okay, so right now, students, what we're going to do is, Mr. Don's our photographer. He's going to help kind of direct you over and set you up in front of the board. We'll get a large group photo, parents, and then we'll all go out together into the lobby and do individual pictures with our schools. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get one more loud round of applause for our 2019 December Stair Climber Award winners.
So is this Kim's
It's part of what he does, just it's one small part what he does.
Thank you, Mr. Nixon, for all the efforts that you put into this, and I want to say I'm jealous of that necktie you're wearing tonight. I left home in a hurry. With this weather, I wanted to be on time. I didn't have one. It's a good thing you didn't cross paths with me. I might have distracted you and stolen that from you. Thank you. Tonight's superintendent's report contains that good news from the local auditor, and it's remarkable when looked at comparatively to the financial situation we'd gone through, and the superintendent and his staff deserve a lot of credit for their work on this behalf. We're lucky to have someone so skilled at accounting and finance as we are. With all of that in mind and what we heard in the report, may we have a motion to approve and accept the report of the superintendent tonight?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Feeney and seconded by Mr. Spagel. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Next item on our agenda is the hearing of citizens. Persons desiring to speak for 5 minutes must submit their desire to do so in writing to the Secretary's office 1 week prior to the board meeting. Anyone else who shows up on the night of the board meeting like tonight will have 3 minutes. If there is anybody willing to come and wishing to come forth and speak to the board, please do so and approach the podium and sign your name and address, please. Are there any, we have no 5-minute speakers, are there any 3-minute speakers that wish to address us tonight? If not, the next item is report of committees and liaison. We haven't done much yet with this, but this would be the point of the meeting where anybody who has been to a conference or a meaningful event related to school affairs would use this as an opportunity, if they chose to update us. For example, the 4 new members and I yesterday attended a orientation onboarding seminar by the PSBA in Grove City. It'd be appropriate, or if any of the new board members wanted to comment on that or report on it. But in any case, when we get more in focus what the liaison situation is, this would be the time of the meeting when we would have reports back from such people. So is there any reports anyone would like to bring to us at this point?
Mr. President?
Mrs. Feeney?
So I had the privilege of attending the Pennsylvania Department of Education SAS Institute this past Sunday through Tuesday. And we had 2 groups from Erie City Public Schools present. Myself, Doreen Petrie, and Stephanie Seiner, along with assistance from Nora Dolak, presented a pre-K through 12 pathway where garden education can lead our students. It was well received, and it was just a wonderful time down there in Hershey, Pennsylvania, with all the chocolate, and we learned a lot. So I'm sure that both Nora and I will be, sharing some of our experiences in some of the sessions that we went to. We were able to learn a lot there. I also want to mention that today we had a second group from Erie City Schools. Chris Popa, I believe, and Dave. Thank you. Presented building career-ready skills through entrepreneurial mindset education. I believe that this is our mindset. And I believe this is the second year that we did that presentation down at SAS. So it's really exciting that the Department of Ed is recognizing our district and asking us to come down and present all the good things that we're doing here in Erie. I also have a committee report for the vocational committee. On November 14th, I attended National Apprenticeship Appreciation Day over at Erie High. We recognized apprentices from the Tech After Hours. Jake Rao from the Erie Chamber and Regional Growth Chamber Partnership, is that right? It's like that. Talked to the apprentice. He did a really nice presentation. We also had people from the labor industry there. It was a really nice celebration. I got a chance to interact with the students there. That program there is important, and I know that right now we don't have it filled, but I think that if we continue to let the community know what we have going on over there at Tech Hours, it's a great opportunity for our students once they graduate to go into this after hours program. They are able to then get higher certifications and then able to have a family sustaining wage. And I was very impressed with the students, and just wanted to mention that I was there. I also attended on the 21st of November, I went to a comprehensive needs assessment over at Erie High as well. And this is a mandate that comes from Perkins 5, which is the newest version of the Perkins Law, and it's required for all schools who receive the Perkins Fund. Our Director of Career and Technical Education, Pam Matkowski, did a wonderful job. We had members from throughout the community there, and I'm hopeful that we'll hear from Ms. Matkowski later on in the spring, maybe with a report about the Perkins or the local needs assessment and what our further needs might be over at Erie High. I also wanted to mention that I went to Erie Land Bank Board meeting this November. We are just about finished with our first year plan, which included 19 properties, and just about all of those properties have been demoed. We have one property that we're seeking purchase for rehab, and now we are beginning to work on our second year's plan and work plan 2, and we are going to focus this year on three areas. So healthy neighborhoods, core strengthening, which would be our East Bayfront, West Bayfront, and 12th Street corridor. And then distressed neighborhood stabilization, which will be in Little Italy, Trinity Park, and Pulaski Lighthouse. And if any of the board members ever want any further information on what we're doing at the land bank, I'd be happy to sit down with you and tell you what we're doing. Thank you.
Any other board members with any similar reports, news?
Mr. President, over here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thursday, December 19th at 10 o'clock in the morning will be the first presentation of books representing diversity to Jefferson Elementary School. Many people shared a list on social media that had 150 African American children's books. And one of our teachers, who I am Facebook friends with, and I go to Jefferson a lot, so I get a chance to see her, and I read to her class on Dr. Seuss Day. She reached out to me after we both shared the list with concern of the lack of diversity in their current library. And and she asked me, what could I do to help her? And it was something that I thought would be a good idea even before she reached out to me, that we diversify the books in our libraries as well, and even in our classrooms. So members of the community started donating and responding very quickly. We raised over $700, probably within like 24 hours. I started a GoFundMe and we got some money raised, and Tim's firm also pledged some money to help us expand to other elementary schools outside of Jefferson. And he also linked me up with some other connections to help get some books in every school. And I just really feel like it's important for our students to see themselves reflected in their learning situation and environment. And this is just the beginning. Hopefully we get these books in every school, not just elementary school, but in every school. And I want to thank Ms. Franjone and Mr. Boehm for being so receptive to this idea and committed to our strategic plan, as well as our superintendent for leading the district into a path of diversity. I think that, we were able to, over this past year, to get a lot of people excited about diversity and inclusion, and hope to continue that work. Not only with the books, but in other efforts as well. And any board member that is free on Thursday is more than welcome to attend and possibly even read a book or two to the students. And that's it.
Thank you.
It's Thursday, December 19th at 10 o'clock a.m. And I'd like to thank Tyler. He also donated some books as well. I don't want to forget that part either.
Thank you, Ms. McNair.
Mr. President,
Ms. Feeney?
I apologize. I forgot one more thing that I needed to mention. We last week received 2 checks from the Erie Community Foundation for our Farm to School project for $5,000 each. I'd like to publicly thank Jim and Lynn Levison, their fund, and also the Good Old Family Fund.
Thank you. Anyone else have any other information for us? Mr. Titus?
Last month, I was able to talk with Heather Bennett from PSBA. We went into a really long conversation just about diversity and inclusion. I felt Ms. McNair just shared, and I want to reiterate again, as we did with PSBA, that this is has to be a priority, and I know it's been identified within the strategic plan, but just conversing with her and the movements that are happening within Pennsylvania, making sure that we all come together as a community, and not just having one identified person, but rather the whole community working together to make sure that we support the district as they move forward in implementing the strategic plan. And then Heather had just shared, just again, some great assets that we could be utilizing through PSBA that they've been using in cities like in Philadelphia, to make sure that we're assessing equity and inclusion, not just within race, but also making, going even further than that, so that we're representing broadly varying intersections, so that we can move every building forward, and not just certain areas, but in all areas, and making sure that we support, especially Mr. Nixon as he does this work. So,
thank you, Mr. Titus. Any other board members? May we have a motion to approve the report submitted by these liaisons?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Feeney, seconded by Mr. Spiegel. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Next, before us, we don't have any unfinished business, so we move on to the new business, and there's several pages of it. May we start out with, to deal with it, with a motion to approve it as it exists before us?
Mr. President, I move that we approve it.
Moved by Mrs. Feeney. Second. By Ms. I think it was Mr. Spiegel, or was it Gwen? I can't hear too well.
You can pass it to him.
Well, as long as Angela got it.
Mr. Spiegel?
Okay. Well, so now we have a motion and it's before us. I would just like to explain that this is the real business of the school district, and it includes a lot of items. And in a normal month, we would have had a committee of the whole meeting a week ago to take a glance at this and ask questions about the content. We did not have that this month because we had our reorganization meeting a week ago. I did not think it was a good idea to call a special meeting for the purpose of having a committee of the whole meeting because 5 of us had to be in Grove City yesterday. We're here again tonight. And Saturday, we're going to be at the administration building for many hours. So to add a 4th meeting, I just didn't think would help. But this is the time of the meeting where you can question or inquire about anything here. But in another month, I want to stress you'd have another shot at it sooner, which would allow you to ponder what it is, the item that is listed, and seek answers at the committee of the whole, or ask the superintendent to have his staff look into something further. And sometimes such items are modified, adjusted, tweaked, or even withdrawn, depending on the reaction or the interaction between us. So it's here tonight, and now would be an appropriate time if anybody has any questions or concerns about any particular item that's in the new business. Anyone, any discussion or questions?
Mr. President,
Mr. Sumner Nichols.
I would like some background on the addendum to the pilot agreement with St. Vincent as to what that did.
So as you've seen up on St. Vincent's campus, they've made some pretty major changes to their campus. They added the cancer center. They've consolidated a number of parcels into one. So this, in keeping with the pilot agreement, is reflecting those changes so that once those items start to come on the tax rolls, that we'll be able to receive pilot payments for them as well.
Good.
Any other questions or comments on any of the new business items? If not,
Mr. President, just with the gas contract, are there other bidders? I realize National Fuel is the big player in the market, but just a little background on that.
So we actually don't purchase our gas from National Fuel, the supplier. This is their wing that sells the commodity, and we're large enough that we're able to purchase our natural gas off the commodities market, which is priced daily nationwide. So this, we have them as a consultant to evaluate the trends in those. And on occasion, if they feel that we would be able to lock in a better rate, especially for the winter time period, they recommend that we buy the NYMEX futures to lock in that rate for a number of months instead of paying for it at the monthly market rate. So they came to us with a recommendation to lock in for the next several months. And Neil, do you have some more details on the rate?
I know that the difference between what would be approved tonight versus what was previously approved is actually, it is a better rate. In the past, it was 18 cents above the NYMEX versus this being the 13 cents per NYMEX per decatherm, whatever that means.
But there is a 6-month and a 2-year piece. So we're committed to the spot market then for 2.5 years for our pricing?
No, we're out of the spot market. We're locking in at a lower, what they're recommending is a lower rate right now. And typically, and I don't have the details, and unfortunately Randy's on the way back from one of our hearings for real estate taxes in Harrisburg, but I don't believe that they typically lock in 100% of that to give us some flexibility as well.
And Mr. President, there are 2 contracts on here. The one that is 6 months represents the buildings which are currently vacant. And then that's the 6-month contract. The one that is 2 years is the buildings that we have that are fully in operation.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr. President, I have a question.
Rose?
The GEARS program, would someone explain that to me, and where do we get the money for paying the people to do it?
I can start on the money. The GEARS program is actually a federal program, which is up at the end of this year right now. So we receive 100% of our funding for that program from the federal government.
Okay.
So at the end of this year, we do have some opportunities for it to continue, but we're not going to be the major service provider. B, do you want to provide some more information?
Nine of our elementary schools currently have the GEARS program. It's 4 days a week after school program. They do, the police athletic league comes in. We have the STEM program that comes in. There's a robotics program and the gardening program. So those are the 4 days, Monday through Thursday. And Chandra Slocum is our person who oversees that with those 10 buildings.
Did we have to apply for the money, or?
That's the 21st Century Grant money that's still there. So this is within the fifth year of it.
Thanks.
Any other questions or discussions of the new business or any item in it? Roll call.
Mrs. Feeney?
Yes.
Mrs. McNair? Yes. Mr. Nichols?
Yes.
Ms. Pickens?
Yes.
Ms. Sheridan?
Yes.
Mr. Spagel?
Yes.
Mr. Titus?
Yes.
Ms. Cooley?
Yes.
Mr. Harkins?
Yes. The next item we have is the first reading of the adoption of board rules. Up until very recently, the board routinely would have approved 3 or 4 pages of what is the board's rules of operating, usually in the meetings. We would have done that at the reorganization meeting, but I think it was the last time we had new members, we discussed it, and the solicitor steered us to have 2 separate readings at other meetings instead of that one, because the new board members were called upon to vote on rules that they didn't understand or have access to. So we've gotten to where we operate this way now, and so we vote tonight and at our next meeting to approve them, and I don't have them in my possession. I'd like to ask Mrs. Jones if she would print some hard copies so that each board member could have a copy of those rules, when you can, so that they'll know how to refer to them and what's involved, and any questions they have, by the time of the second reading, they'll have a shot at it, and we can talk about it at our committee of the whole meeting. So if you would do that, Angela. Other than that, it's before us to consider. Do we have a motion to adopt the board rules as they now exist? So be it. Moved by Mr. Spagel. Seconded by Gwen? Okay, seconded by Mrs. Cooley. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Feeney?
Yes.
Mrs. McNair? Mr. Nichols?
Yes.
Ms. Pickens?
Yes.
Ms. Sheridan?
Yes.
Mr. Spagel?
Yes.
Mr. Titus?
Yes.
Ms. Cooley?
Yes.
Mr. Harkins?
Yes. The minutes of the meeting of November 13th, 2019, do we have a motion to approve them?
I move that we approve the minutes.
Moved by Mrs. Feeney, seconded by Mr. Spagel. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Bills and payrolls to be paid. May we have a motion to do that?
Motion.
That we pay the bills and payroll. Is that Gwen?
Yes.
Moved by Gwen, seconded by Mr. Spagel. Discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Feeney?
Yes.
Mrs. McNair? Yes. Mr. Nichols?
Yes.
Ms. Pickens?
Yes.
Ms. Sheridan?
Yes.
Mr. Spagel?
Yes.
Mr. Titus?
Yes.
Ms. Cooley?
Yes.
Mr. Harkins?
Yes. Report of the secretary. Do we have a motion to approve the report of the secretary for the 4-month period ending October 31st, 2019, and the capital projects report, investment summaries, and treasurer's report for October 2019 as attached electronically to the agenda?
I move that we accept them.
Moved by Mrs. Feeney, seconded by Mr. Spiegel. By the way, I do this so that the secretary of the board can have it clearly written down, and it stalls for a little bit of time to help her make note of who moved and seconded the motion.
I appreciate that, Mr. President.
Well, I know you do, but I just want people to think I'm not just trying to delay things by dragging it out. There's a reason for it, so. Anyway, moved by Mrs. Feeney, seconded by Mr. Spiegel. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Feeney?
Yes.
Mrs. McNair? Mr. Nichols?
Yes.
Ms. Pickens?
Yes.
Ms. Sheridan?
Yes.
Mr. Spable?
Yes.
Mr. Titus?
Yes.
Ms. Cooley?
Yes.
Mr. Harkins?
Yes. Now we would award bids, but there are none ready to be awarded by us this evening, so that is moot. And at this point, we're at the point of the meeting where we have any other board matter for discussion, where any board member who has any question or comment to make about anything whatsoever, within reason, can ask or comment, or such thing for the new members, such things as if there's something you're concerned about, interested in, and want to ask the superintendent if he could have his staff look into it and report back to us at some future time. This would be a moment where that could be done, or that could also be done at one of our committee of the whole meetings. If someone just wants to call attention to a particular event or accomplishment or anything whatsoever, this is kind of a catch-all moment of the meeting where if there's anything that a board member has on their mind or wants to ask or say anything about, this is when they may. So is there any other board member who has a matter to bring up to us this evening?
Mr. President?
Mr. Spiegel?
I'd be interested in maybe at one of the committee meetings, if we could have kind of a breakdown for the vocational programs we have at Erie High, how well they're attended and how successful they are. I know I had a conversation at one point with one of the shop teachers, and he was telling me that maybe they started off with 25 students in the program, ended up with maybe 8 or so graduating, all of them receiving jobs in that field. I'd be interested to see that. I don't know enough about, cosmetology and those things, obviously. But I'd like to see how successful and how well attended those are.
Mr. President?
Mr. Superintendent?
I believe that Ms. Mikowski's coming in January to talk about our K-12 career plan, correct, Ms. Sabarsky?
Yes, and she also has a video, that's a 17-minute video that the students.
We have that for the data summit?
We were going to do it for the board retreat, but the time frame is too crunched. So we were going to show it in January. Ms. Mikowski can show what they take to the middle schools so the students can see all the different programs that are available to them.
So we can certainly incorporate that in and then also share out what we're trying to do to build those programs up as well. It'd be perfect timing.
Sure, thanks.
Mr. President, would that, Brian, would that include information on our magnet program?
Excuse me.
Magnet programs.
Magnet
programs?
Information on our magnet.
Definitely.
Mr. President?
Ms. Cooley.
Just a community announcement, if I may, at this time. On January 11th, 2020, the 10th annual Martin Luther King Center dinner will be held at the Bayfront Convention Center. And with this being the 10th anniversary, the speaker would be Martin Luther King III. And I do believe communication has been sent to us.
Would someone like to mention that the kids at, the students at Erie High, the shop that raises plants, is making Christmas wreaths and centerpieces that they sell? And I think this week is the deadline for an order to be placed, just to let, in case the public doesn't know that they have that option. Helps everybody involved.
Yes, they are wonderful wreaths. They range from $20 to $25, I think. And then they have centerpieces, 1 candle and 2 candle centerpieces. If anyone's interested, they would call the school at Erie High. Do you want them to call the office, Pam?
You can just call me.
So if they could call the school district office and we can transfer them over to Ms. Makowski's office and we'll make sure that they get the wreaths or the orders for whatever they need. They're beautiful and the students do a beautiful job.
And the lighting ceremony?
Is Friday at 6.
Okay. Is there any other matter which any other board member wishes to bring up? Mr. Tice?
I would just like to request, to put more on your plate, Brian, I'm sorry. Just a breakdown of the schools, the community schools, what programs are in the community schools, the benefits, just like, so we can kind of see that, especially for the new members. Just so we can have-
Apologize, we've owed you that for a while.
Yeah, that's okay. I just think it would be really helpful for, especially the new members, just to kind of see the breakdown within the district and then points of contact.
Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to have a
Ms.
few
Sheridan.
minutes. I was so nervous last week when I was getting sworn in that I forgot to thank you wonderful people. Angela, you've been wonderful. John, you've helped tremendously during the transition period. Thank you so much for making me feel welcome.
Glad to. And do you want to mention what a good driver Mr. Nichols is, who's safely
I do. I have an award to give him.
brought five of us back through the snowstorm late last night. Otherwise, the board would have been a heck of a fix.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. You did a great job.
And Rose has a heck of a sweet tooth. Sorry if I revealed too much, but
That's okay. I think everybody knows.
I was shocked. Anyone else? Any other matter which any director wishes to bring up this time? If not, maybe we have a motion to adjourn.
So be it.
Moved by Mr. Spiegel, we adjourn.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Feeney. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, meeting adjourned. Thank you. Happy holidays, everyone.